Julie here with Sirius Telus Moon, and this is Soul Hour, Soul Night. And the Sun is 22 in Libra in the 6th house, opposing Chiron and Aries in Aries. Ruled by Venus, that is 2 degrees Libra. And Venus is trining Pluto. Venus ruling the Ascendant at 13 degrees Taurus, and Midheaven at 29 degrees Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. Now, apparently, there is a funny scandal. It's not so funny scandal, but comparative to the other things that I cover here, it's a funny scandal. and fuck it, I say that. Okay, like, yeah. So moving on to the funny vibes, there were 19 old drones sent to Poland by Russia, and they had to figure out how to take them down because apparently these drones are so cheap that that are gonna cost a lot of the 5%. So they had to take them down, and one of the very expensive missiles didn't explode. I mean, it did, but it fell on a rooftop. So as an Israeli, that's so fucking relatable. I mean, this happens for what, 70 something years? like shit happens, you know. There were even entire villages where they would get shot and have drones and stuff like that, and like literally no missiles. Like nobody did anything. And then of course there was genocide in Gaza. So I don't know, Gaza, Russia. But anyway, I thought to try to delineate that, and I can't really. I know people say, "What is that? A funny case?" Yeah, I mean, the classified project budget is targeting individuals using no-touch torture. That's nobody tends to that, and that's how they basically get to these situations to begin with. So the people that talk about peace talks, well, if peace talks are just more sacrificed children and ritual abuse, then let them be some drones and missiles hitting drones. I mean, that's more humane, I guess. Now to try to delineate that, I really don't know what to say. I mean, yes, the moon was opposing Pluto from Leo. Sun was 22ing, I think, yesterday as well. And that could have triggered something, but Sun is like in Libra. I mean, it's kind of like it's a Venus sign. It's not a war sign in that sense. And Venus is in Libra, trining Pluto. Mars is in the middle decan of Scorpio, with Mercury adjoining it. Right now, squaring the moon, but it wasn't before. So I do think about the fact that Sun is opposing Chiron, and that Chiron is conjoining the Rahu of NATO. Now, the Sun applying to trigger this opposition triggers the Chiron and Aries around the 8th house of NATO, which is the funding, and this is where they are having a question about why should they spend so much money to take down the supposedly cheap drones from Russia. Economicity. And then one of the expensive missiles drops on a house, so on a building or a civilian building. I don't know if there's a bingo expendable children there, so As for Mars, it's ruling Lilith, 22 in Lilith, but again, I don't like, I don't see that necessarily connected. I do think that this is, we're going to have to watch for a couple of days because this is the activation of Sun opposition, Chiron and Aries. And Chiron is a wound around sovereignty and also a wound around weapon industry. In that case, there was both the most expensive weapon, but it's kind of like the cheap drones were working, the expensive missile was not. And that's not a jab at NATO. It's something that all, when we talk about weapon industry, in fact, I was thinking about weapon industry epic fails also when it comes to talismanic materia, and the fact that one can order like a protective talisman, then it gets stolen on the way, or there are psychic attacks trying to use that talisman to attack the person that orders the weapon. There was a talisman, it's basically a protective device. So this is where these thoughts about the praxis of the weapon industry come to terms with Chiron that is conjoining Aries and creating a little bit of chaos. So first of all, there's the 19 cheap drones. There was even a joke about like I don't know what was it, a submarine, like I really don't know what was it. They kind of like, hey, that weapon coming from Russia is probably from the Cold War. And it works. I mean, it works. But then there is also another wound. So one wound is kind of like, hey, they come with a cheap weapon and it's not really fancy and so on. But another wound is around basically the expensive weapon, the 5%, okay, having a mishap. And I think it's the triggering of Chiron by the Sun in Libra. And I think that the Sun in Libra is not even the matter here as much as there's something that triggers Chiron. Also, the Moon was squaring Chiron. Okay? Yesterday it was opposing Pluto and squaring Chiron and Aries. And it came from Procyon. So while there were good things happening, like returned kidnapped people and so on, there was also another mishap to do with war. And Chiron is a wound around identity. So there were 3 dead bodies that were returned after the leaving kidnapped people, and 4 dead bodies. 3 of them were identified, and one of them was Hamas. So they just put him in there. That's just. So this is my tiny word delineation. There's also, okay, if I try to think about Pluto direct, which is fresh and new, there are a lot of things that I like about this Pluto direct, and there are a lot of things that I was hoping to have been resolved by this Pluto direct, and perhaps it's still early, but they're just things that are perhaps a shift of perspective. However, Pluto is still in orb to square Chiron and Aries, and the megalithic chaos, okay, around things is still there. So I can't say I had the easiest couple of days either, even when Pluto turned direct. And that coincides, people that are, I don't know what to call that anymore, because the second frontier, because it's not even the civilian frontier. There's just something there that they try to see where they want to recruit us, and they're like, well, you're gonna have to do sexual sovereignty. You're gonna have to do sexual sovereignty. You're gonna have to do sexual sovereignty. Nothing's gonna work without it anyway. So it's kind of like and here's the thing with sexual sovereignty, many options are open. Without sexual sovereignty, no option yields. So that is, there was a talk about the white hats before, and when I first ran into the white hats, I thought, hey, that's fucking cool. I mean, people that are doing in benefit of humanity or using occult in benefit of humanity, and one would probably consider, and April's not the first omen that I got, was another omen that I got from Light that talked about being the white hats, and I'm like, okay, looking into that. But then again, sexual sovereignty has to be a thing. Without it, there's no intelligence, there's no projects, there's no nothing. Okay, um, because this is pertaining to the identity, pertaining to the I am, to the ability to say yes, no, and maybe, and any benefic thing that I would do for humanity would be supporting of that. So that's kind of like where I stand within that, and the fact there's been frustrating because I think I'm not that much. I mean, I have Sun and Venus in Taurus, but I have Mercury in Aries, and Aries is my second house, and I'm like, I'm not that hard-headed person. Like, I'm very adaptable and very open to opportunities. And one would think that sexual sovereignty is kind of like the basic. Yes, I'm not exactly a framework organizational figure, more like an independent spirit. But other than that, I'm pretty much like open to a lot of opportunities. So I think that that's missing. Okay, that those opportunities will honor sexual sovereignty. That's missing, and I think that I've stressed that point repetitively for the past 2-3 years, and even have a foundation of psychological and scientific and social engineering basis of how that gives intelligence advantage, why sexual sovereignty is important. And so I know that people are like, yeah, we shouldn't have to be explaining that rape is no good. Well, when we talk military activity, that's not as obvious as one would think, because that is seen as something that could be done to a person and make them like a mind-controlled soldier. But then again, I see housing first as one of the main solutions that we have. Housing first, believe in the crazy people. Okay, believe in the crazy people. And that doesn't work with a Nazi agenda or alien agenda, or I don't know where it's coming from, to like subjugate humanity and stuff like that. That's a no-go. But whatever you call it, white hats, whatnot, then yeah, I mean, I'm all for if it's like keeping on honoring sexual sovereignty in spirit and in matter. There are no cheat sheets on that. Okay, we can't fake sovereignty. And even if it's a fake it till you make it, but then we got like to be sovereign, we have to make it. So, and that is the foundation without which really nothing can be built and have a strong foundation. That doesn't mean that people that are dealing with those things don't build things or don't do things, but they basically build to destroy, and that can go to megalithic levels of destruction. And with Jupiter Procyon, I think that is pretty evident. It's also pertaining, of course, medically to the endocrine system, whether it's viral infections like herpes that sit better on harm the immune system by violation or yeast growth or any of that sort. Those things, basically, when we honor sexual sovereignty, a lot of the risk of those things is actually not only diminished but completely gone, and that's important because on these things sit the other things. Okay, there's the heart diseases, the cancer growth, the other things, and when the entire economy is one megalithic scam of destroying humanity, then this creates a situation where people like me or people, you know, are being introduced with concepts as like, okay, then you're like, you don't want to do crime and so on, so come on, be the white hats. And I'm like, cool, fantastic, sexual sovereignty. And because any project that I would do, whether it's intelligence, it's like, okay, housing first, believe the patient, then we get number one competitive advantage over any intelligence agency. And for that to work, it really needs to honor the sovereignty. So it can't be like, honor the person, get information, kill the person. No, we can't do that. Like, it has to serve humanity. And those that come with that position of being predators upon humanity, then I don't know what they're serving, but it's definitely not healing, and it's not healing for them either, because however reptilian they are, they're human. Okay? They're medically, okay? And to try to get away with that with technology, like, why not to begin with not grow children by raping them and torturing them and getting them addicted to whether it's endocrine or to torture or to the relief of torture, never knowing peace, never knowing embodiment, never knowing happy connection even with the self. And then, as Anna Kaluka so wisely says, we expect the people that grew in such upbringings, and with all compassion, to provide security for us, to provide safety for us, and that's how should I say that? It's an inhumane demand. So, so this is why this is a hot topic. As for the weapon mishaps, and the Hamas soldier coming as a dead body with the rest of the bodies, I think it's just Chiron in Aries activated. And I think the fact that it's the sun doesn't even matter so much, because it was like the moon squaring, and that was really manifesting that Chiron Aries wound. Because Aries is the best, and if you think about the best missile dropping on a rooftop, and to Israel it happened a gazillion times. In fact, in Pearl of Defense, there was, and this was a really tragic event, because the pilots were sending a small missile that was supposed to let the people know to get out of the building, and then would send a big missile. So one family did not know that. I think it's like this technique is kind of like really weird, and one family very humanely did not know that. So they went outside. They heard the small missile bombing. Then they went inside, and then the big missile came, and the entire family was wiped out. Entire civilian Palestinian family is like over nothing. I know it sounds very funny in the light of, like, Gaza 2025. But that's something that actually happens even with the best of missiles. And this is the Chiron, okay? The Chiron, something being the best but not working. Something being so expensive that people like wonder, well, should I waste the Patriot to shoot down a, I don't know, $19 drone? I really don't know what went on there, or the Hamas soldier body that came up with the bones of the kidnapped.